Hi and welcome to this Project in a Box video session. Here we're going to be looking at the features in the new version 5.1. So, a lot of this is about improving the way that people work in the browser. These are often team members, about making that easier for them to pick up and use and more efficient and quick for them to access the information that they need. We're also going to have a look at Pfx files, which are the new type of templates, and talk a little bit about the impacts of GDPR as well. So, browser navigation. The browser interface has been evolving over a good period of time, and this is taking on board quite a lot of feedback from users about the way in which they want their general team members to interact. So it now has the fully dynamic navigation that's available in the Windows application, where you can set up a navigation diagram for your type of project. You can lay out that how you want to, with click areas for the functionality that you want people to access. Yes, in the browser before you could do that for accessing documentation on the process, but now you can use that to link to particular reports that you want, to analysis of task risk issues, to administration functions, as well as a range of other things. So the functionality that's available in the browser can all be activated from that diagram. So you can lay out that diagram how you want to for your type of project, and present that information to people. It can include guidance as well, various other things, and we've got a whole new set of those for our standard n-step methods. Now when that navigation diagram is out and active, of course you click on something, it takes you to that area. If you hide the navigation away, it drops back into the left hand side here with what we call a sidebar visible, and a sidebar is an extension of that overall methodology navigation approach. So it's a little navigation area that allows you to put on things that you want. So in this case we've got quick links to collaboration threads, to immediate reporting, and links to our key processes. And you can put, of course, anything on here that you want to. So even when somebody's in one piece of functionality, they can jump straight to the key things that you're interested in them accessing. Now that's when that's running in a larger browser, perhaps on a laptop or desktop. When you're running the browser interface in a smaller space, and particularly in a portrait area, you'll get it looking like this, and this is from a smartphone, where you'll see that the full navigation diagram is shown in a smaller arrangement at the top, and you can use that as a menu. You can click on the items and it will take you to that in the bottom part of the screen, and of course it lays it out concertina style down the page in the panes. So that browser navigation becomes really intuitive, like it is in the Windows application, where people see the diagram, they click on the things that they want, and of course the diagram can follow all the rules again that you need to set up for your business logic. So once you're working in that mode and you're very quickly selecting the process that you want and seeing the documents come up, etc., and working through that Explorer view down through the tree of process document files, once you get to a file that you're interested in, it now looks at whether it can preview it for you. So we have automatic previewing available for typically 90% of the files that we see in projects. So it will preview for you Word files, Excel files, PIABs and SPN files, images, PDFs, website links. So if your files or your content of your project documents are that sort of information, that will appear in the preview pane straight away for you so that you can read it there and then. Now if you're in a browser, that means you're not having to open the file, find an application to open with it, read it, etc. If you're on a smartphone or something, you'll be able to get it up straight away, and if you're on a laptop, it'll save you the hassle of downloading the file and finding the application to use. So for most of those previews, like I say, typically 90% of files that people use in their projects, they'll all preview. Things that we don't have a previewer for currently, we may choose to add or we may add in the future, or of course you can continue to download those to your machine and open them with your preferred application. And that's the same approach on obviously tablet and smartphone usage as it is on laptop. It'll give you all the same experience of previewing that. And as you work your way through different files, they'll just appear in that pane. It also has a shrink and grow command here, so that you can maximize the available space for you to see that file content. Some of these, of course, can be pretty big and wide. So that's again about ease of use for people. They find their process, they click on the file, it opens immediately for them to look at. It makes it nice and slick. And then the browser layout itself has obviously had a restyling. There is that change to navigation and the way the panes work within the browser, but we've given it a very simple, sharp design, so that it's not distracting you from the information that's there. We've also done a lot of work on auto-focusing, so it'll highlight the particular areas that you have selected, pull those into the middle of forms, etc. So you're not hunting around for your items so much. So all those little things that make it really easy and intuitive to use. Of course, the layout is set up so that when you jump onto a smaller device, it'll rearrange itself to lay out that nice and easily for you. So you've got exactly the same functionality and interface whichever device you're using it on, and we're seeing increasingly that many people are using this browser interface for their team member interaction. And their higher level users are still using the Windows application by and large, but of course when they're away from their desk they'll be picking up the browser interface as well. So talking about Pfx Files now, we've been using Word files and Excel for our templates for a long time, and SPN as well. And Word files obviously are the majority of initial templates, business cases, mandates, PIDs, all those sort of things. And they work pretty well, and everyone knows how to use Word, but there are a couple of issues with it. So the first is to edit the file. You need to download it and open it in an application. And if you're on a portable device, tablet, smartphone, etc., you may not have something for editing Word files. There's a time and effort of downloading it and finding it and putting it back on the system afterwards when you've made the changes. The other thing is that when you take a view of a Word file, it still opens in essentially an editable Word format. And now PIABX doesn't do either of those things. So it's our own format, and we enable you to view it, preview it in the browser, and to also edit it in the browser. So you would instead press the edit button. You would then get an editable version of that, which in the browser you can fill in the various sections, and it goes to a tabbed arrangement. So when you're looking at it in preview, it's down the page like a Word file is, and if you want to find section 4 in the Word file, you've got to scroll through to find that. Here, if you want to find section 4, they're tabbed, and you just jump straight to section 4 and fill that in. So it's about ease of accessing that content, the ability to update it straight away within your browser. Of course, if you're running from the Windows application or you want to send it to somebody else, you can still check that file out, and you'll get PIABX file that'll open in a standalone PIABX viewer. And that's available as a free download, so you can give that to somebody to contribute to your templates if you want to. But these are really going to be coming into their own when people are editing them live in the browser, and then save, and that's saved back in. Now, of course, it still works on our inbuilt version control, document management system arrangement, but that's hidden away from your average user who's simply either reading it or editing it, of course, based on their permissions. So that's really easy to interact with those files, and they've been designed to support the things that most people put in their templates. There's sections, there's tables in there, there's dates, fields, etc. like that. It'll take the injection of properties from the system, so you can inject in project manager and which department it is and all that sort of information into your PIABX files, just like you could into the Word files. But the Word files used the Office document property, and that was limited to a maximum of I think 140 characters. So if you wrote a big long project description and wanted to inject it, you'd get the first sentence often. With PIABX, we take the whole thing. So you can write as long a project description as you want to as a property, and have that injected into all the files that need it in full, into the various spaces where you want to have it in the file. And also, in the way that you can't do with Word files, we can also take those properties back out of the PIABX file. So it addresses that mandate brief PID issue, which many people have had over the years, of many of the sections are repeated in all of those documents. The business case you've written, you may want that to pull into the PID, for example. And so you can create the section in one file, it can export it as a property, and then load it in complete format into later files. And in fact, all of our standard end-step methods include an element of that now, with a project description that you provide in the mandate, and that's offered up into all of your following project files as a reference piece of text for people who are engaging with those files. So PIABX is designed to address most of the things that people do currently in typical Word templates, but to take that further, for simplicity and ease of use. Doesn't stop you using Word templates. It doesn't stop you using a mixture of templates actually if you want to, but it does give you that really quick interaction with that content. Taken in combination with the browser things we talked about earlier, what that means is that many of your users will never need to leave the browser, because often what they'll be doing is viewing evidence and materials that are held in the project documentation and editing the standard templates, and therefore they can do all of that from the browser. Final point on GDPR. Obviously GDPR compliance and regulation is coming into place, and Project in a Box has been great for that for a long time actually, in terms of our searchability and audit trail. We know who's been working on what documentation, where people are referenced within documentation. That's great. But a number of customers have asked us about GDPR consent. Have people got, or do we collect consent for their interaction with the system and storage of their personal details like email addresses, phone numbers, etc. And so we've included that on the My Details form. A tick box, we can tell then who in the system has given consent and who hasn't, and in fact that form to update that information is now available to all users, including what we called contact only users. Previously these people were contacted by the system. They were people like suppliers, and therefore we held details for them like an email address and a phone number, so the system could send them reminders about things, but they could never log in. Well, now they can log in, but the only thing they can access is their My Details form. So you can create an account for your supplier, they can log in, give consent, put in their email address, and then the system will send them reminders. So it just nicely closes off that GDPR compliance for you, which is obviously an important thing. So availability, this is all available from now to existing customers with an existing maintenance contract in place, or for customers who, or for new customers, and obviously when people put their maintenance contract back in place they can have this update as well. Our SaaS customers just need to let us know and we'll upgrade you when you want. And the pricing remains unchanged. It's exactly the same pricing as it was before. We're not changing the pricing at this release. So that's a quick overview. As usual, we're just doing that from PowerPoint slides. There are then some following videos which take you through that. We'll look at all that in a bit more detail actually in the system, give it all a try out. But of course, if you want to have a one-to-one session to look through that, then we're happy to do that with you. You just need to let us know. Okay, thank you very much.